Greetings, this is Angelus de Martial with another multiplayer build guide in Dragon Age Inquisition. Today, we will be building the Archer as a striker. A striker is a role focused on mobility and single target burst DPS. This also throws a pinch of crowd control in the mix just to add a bit of flavor. The Archer is well known as one of the best strikers in Inquisition, as the mixture of several high damage abilities and low cooldowns allows for a much higher overall DPS compared to other classes built for more pure single hit damage like the Assassin Striker I showcased in a previous build guide. Not to mention, the Archer is a socially awkward alcoholic that always invites everyone down to the tavern as an excuse for him to drink. What's not to love? On second thought, maybe that last part was not a good selling point. Yeah, let's just get to the build. First, we have Longshot. Longshot looses a single powerful arrow that does significantly more damage if you hit your target from greater than 15 meters away. 3 times more damage specifically. Furthermore, it's one of the few skills that sees both its base and bonus damage increased if you are lucky enough to have received the enhanced Longshot ring from a chest. The upgrade, Archer's Lance, causes the arrow to continue on through your original target and hit any target behind it, dealing more damage the more targets are chained in this fashion. Longshot is the bread and butter skill in this build. It is what will be used the most and what sustains the highest DPS. We'll discuss that a bit more in the strategy section later on. Leaping Shot is a skill that allows the Archer to perform a backflip while loosing a dozen arrows simultaneously in a conical pattern. Because of the angle of spread, Leaping Shot is far more useful at close range than at a distance, which paints it ideally as an evasion skill. This becomes even more apparent with its upgrade, Rolling Draw, which causes the next basic attack after doing a leaping shot to do double damage and knock down the target, if they're still alive. However, leaping shot can also be used effectively as an offensive tool, as I will also discuss in the strategy section later on. Note that while the enhanced Longshot ring is amazing with this build, the enhanced Leaping Shot ring currently does not work as of version 1.06, also known as patch 5. This may change in the future, however, so bear that in mind. Next, we have Mark of Death. Mark of Death is probably one of the most powerful single hit damage abilities available, simply because when a target is cursed, or marked, 100% of the damage dealt to them from all sources is tallied up over the course of 8 seconds and dealt to them a second time. Because of the damage output of Mark of Death, it's usually reserved for stronger enemies. Again, we'll discuss this more in the strategy section. Finally, we have Knockout Bomb. Knockout Bomb is a crowd control ability that throws a grenade full of sleeping powder at an enemy, putting that enemy and nearby enemies to sleep for 10 seconds. Sleep is the rogue disabling effect that sets targets up for powerful cross-class combos if the sleeping enemy is hit with a warrior's impact detonator or a mage's eldritch detonator. Note that dealing a certain amount of damage to enemies will wake them up prematurely. There are other distinct routes a person can choose for passives, such as Tricks of the Trade, Death from Above, or Mercy Killing. However, I decided to focus on just maximizing the Archer's damage and sustainability. There are a couple of requisite choices. Of all of these, Opportunity Knocks is the most important. This lowers your ability cooldowns by a half second every time anyone on the team lands a critical hit. Flanking fire adds 25% more damage when hitting enemies on the flank, which happens more frequently than most people realize. Because hitting an enemy on the flank is reliable in all scenarios, I will choose this over death from above any day. Pincushion increases bow attacks progressively by 5% for each attack landing within a rolling 10-second period. Since the bow's basic attack is very close to 1 hit per second, it's a safe generalization to say that this bonus accumulates up to around 50%. Dance of Death sees the archer regenerate 50 stamina for each kill, which when paired with Look Like It Hurt, the archer has a solid amount of sustainability to keep dealing damage. Sneak Attack doubles your critical chance when attacking enemies from the flank. Again, as I said, you are hitting enemies from the flank a lot more often than you might think. The strategy for this build is fairly straightforward and can be summed up in 2 steps and a bit extra. First, quickly observe the enemy when you approach to identify priority targets such as enemy archers, shadows, or despair demons. Second, of those priority targets, locate the one that is closest to you and loose Longshot. Make sure it's on an easy to reach button. You'll be using it a lot. From here, the strategy opens up. If your Longshot is on cooldown, you can strafe and shoot basic attacks until Longshot is back, then rinse and repeat as necessary. If there is a non-magical creature in the group, you can use a knockout bomb to put them to sleep and eliminate them from the fight for a short time. Do keep in mind that yourself and your teammates may unintentionally wake up sleeping enemies early, so don't turn your back on them. If you have a heavy target like a brute or a pride demon, cast Mark of Death on it, then return to focus on the lighter enemies. It will tally damage from your tank and any other characters attacking it and automatically trigger after 8 seconds to deal a solid amount of damage. If the heavy enemy is a more pressing threat or the last enemy left, follow Mark of Death up with a long shot at a distance, then close in for a point-blank leaping shot. This usually tallies enough damage to kill almost every heavy enemy in the game, even on Perilous. Now, while Mark of Death is extremely useful against Venatori and the Red Templar commanders, please note that it is not very useful against the Demon Commander, as each time he dives underground, he purges negative status effects on him like Mark of Death. In closing, this archer build is an excellent addition to a team as a solid striker. He can easily dish out large amounts of damage and keep that damage flowing near indefinitely. It's enough to make us all ignore his drinking problems and focus on the goals of the Inquisition. Again, as I always say, this is not the best build for the archer. There are no such things as best builds. Have another way to build the archer? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you enjoyed the video or have something to say, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Once again, this is Angelus de Mortiel signing off.